Hello everyone, it's Myung-Kul. Today I am going to read Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, Chapter 8, The Potion's Master, page 131 to 133. There, look, where? Next to the tall kid with the red hair, wearing the glasses. Did you see his face? Did you see his scar? Whispers followed Harry from the moment he left his dormitory the next day. People lining up outside classrooms stood on tiptoe to get a look at him, or doubled back to pass him in the corridors again staring. Harry wished they wouldn't because he was trying to concentrate on finding his way to classes. There were 142 staircases at Hogwarts, wide sweeping ones, narrow, rickety ones, some that led somewhere different on a Friday. Somewhere with a vanishing step halfway up that you had to remember to jump. Then there were doors that wouldn't open unless you asked politely or tickle them in exactly the right place. And doors that weren't really doors at all, but solid walls just pretending. It was also very hard to remember where anything was because it all seemed to move around a lot. The people in the portrait kept going to visit each other, and Harry was sure the coats of armor could walk. The ghost didn't help either. It was always a nasty shock when one of them glided suddenly through a door you were trying to open. Nearly headless Nick was always happy to point new Gryffindors in the right direction, but Peeves, the poltergeist, was worse too. Locked doors and a trick staircase. If you met him when you were late for class, he would drop waste paper baskets on your head, pull rugs from under your feet, to pelt you with bits of chalk, or sneak up behind you invisible, grab your nose and screech, got your conch. Even worse than Peeves, if that was possible, was the caretaker, Argus Filch. Harry and Ron managed to get on the wrong side of him on the very first morning. Filch found them trying to force their way through a door that unluckily turned out to be the entrance to the out-of-bounds corridor on the third floor. He wouldn't believe they were lost, was sure they were trying to break into it on purpose, and was threatening to lock them in the dungeons when they were rescued by Professor the Quirrell, who was passing. The Filch owned a cat called Mrs. Horace, a scrawny, dust-colored creature with bulging lamp-like eyes, just like Filch's. She patrolled the corridors alone, break a rule in front of her, put just one toe out of line, and she would whisk off for Filch, who would appear whizzing 2 seconds later. The Filch knew the secret passageways of the school better than anyone, except perhaps the Weasley twins, and could pop up as suddenly as any of the ghosts. Students all hated him, and it was the dearest ambition of many to give Mrs. Norris a good kick. And then once you had managed to find them, there were the classes themselves. There was a lot more to magic, as Harry quickly found out, than waving your wand and saying a few funny words. They had to study the night skies through the telescopes every Wednesday at midnight, and learn the names of different stars and the movements of the planet. 3 times a week, they went out to the greenhouses behind the castle to study herbology with a dumpy little witch called Professor Sprout. They learned how to take care of all the strange plants and fungi and found out what they were used for. Easily the most boring class was History of Magic, which was the only one taught by a ghost. Professor the Binns had been very old indeed when he had fallen asleep in front of the stockroom fire and got up next morning to teach, leaving his body behind him. The Binns droned on and on while they scribbled down names and dates. They got Emmerich, the evil, and Uric, the oddball, mixed up. Professor the Flitwick, the charms teacher, was a tiny little wizard who had to stand on a pile of books to see over his desk. At the start of the first class, he took the roll call, and when he reached Harry's name, he gave an excited squeak and toppled out of sight. Professor McGonagall was again different. Harry had been quite right to think she was not a teacher to cross. Strict and clever, she gave him a talking to the moment they sat down in her first class. The end.